Gather close to the radio, folks, because I've got my big celebrity special guest sitting next to me. I got my pink lippy on and my crow's scarf around my neck for the wonderful, the only, Brenton Sanderson. Thank you so much for joining me in the studio on my second day here.
No, my pleasure. Welcome to your new job.
Thank you so much. You have become a celebrity here in town. How does it feel?
To be honest, I don't really absorb too much of it because it's just business as usual. I go to work early in the morning and typically get home late at night, and everything in between is just football, you know. So I sort of don't see much of the outside world, and it's not until I, come in here or, you walk into the supermarket and people sort of shake your hand or congratulate you on what's happened so far. But you just have to keep reminding people that there's a long way to go and we're halfway through the season. And yes, it's been a fantastic start to the year, but there's hopefully some really exciting times coming in the second half of the year as well. So we've just got to keep our eye on the job and make sure we continue to play well.
You seem incredibly humble despite the recent successes. You look really relaxed because you've obviously had the bye. What have you been doing in your downtime?
First of all, it hasn't really been a week off for the coaches. We still had our mid-season review where we sort of turned the first half of the season upside down and looked at ways that we could still make the club better and the team better in the second half. And there's some things we're doing really well, but at the same time, there's some things that we still have to focus on to improve on. And if we think that we're going to compete in, the latter half of the year, it's really important that we do keep improving. So the players had a good break. I think they had 2 lots of 2 days off, so they had 4 days altogether. Didn't want to give them 4 days off in a row because didn't know what they would do in those 4 days off, but we gave them the weekend off, and then they had Tuesday and Wednesday off last week. But they're jumping out of their skin this week. They've trained really well, and St Kilda's going to be hard on Friday night.
It's going to be a big game.
Yeah, it'll be an absolute ripper. It's good for us to be on the national TV audience too, and hopefully everyone can see how well we're playing. But at the same time, I can't remember what your question was in the end. I've just rambled on.
But you've really brought a culture of winning to this team, haven't you?
Well, so far, yes. I mean, we've only lost 2 games so far, but we've been in some close ones. The players have had to really dig deep in some of the fourth quarters that we've played, and even the last game we played against Fremantle when they fought their way back and they got in front, and then it's their home ground, but somehow our boys found a way to win, which was just awesome. So two losses, Collingwood and Hawthorn, but the NAB Cup win was great.
Yep.
And 8 wins following that. So it's been a really positive start, and there's a really good energy around the club at the moment. And
we can certainly expect finals footy, can't we, Brenton Sanderson?
We can't say that yet, no. You just never know. And I've been in footy long enough to know that things can turn pretty quickly. And I don't want to be pessimistic or anything, but at the same time, we have to understand that it's a really tight competition. There's some really good sides out there. There's going to be some interesting games coming up, as well. We won't look further ahead than St Kilda this week, but at the same time, there's going to be some rippers in the second half of the season we're going to have to really be up for, and hopefully in a few weeks, 6, 7, 8, 9 weeks' time, we can start to talk about finals. But we wouldn't be foolish enough to think too far ahead yet. We know there's a lot of work to do before we talk about that.
Now, has it been lovely coming back to your hometown? You were schooled here in Adelaide?
Yeah, well, I actually haven't lived here for a long time. It was I left in 1994 to play for Collingwood after I was at the Crows for 2 years as a player, and then I shifted to Collingwood. Then they got rid of me after 1 year, and then I ended up at Geelong in 1995, and then I pretty much had 16 years at Geelong as a player or a coach. So to come back is great. I've seen my dad more in the last 6 months than I've probably have in the last 20 years. So
that's wonderful. You went to Aberfoyle Park High School? Yeah,
I went to school in the hills. We grew up in the I grew up in Coromandel Valley. Then we moved to Belair in the Adelaide Hills, and I went to school at Aberfoyle Park. My sister went to school at Blackwood, and it's just great to be home. I see my grandparents now, and my mum lives in the Barossa Valley. She's up at Nuruyupta, so it's good to be able to sort of be closer to her again as well. And Dad's just around the corner, so it's great to see your family a bit more than what you used to, which is fantastic. And of course, I obviously love the club. I've only been there for 5 minutes, but every day I get more attached to these boys and this club, and our supporters are so positive this year. So hopefully we can sustain that form and hopefully have some fun at the end of the season.
Fantastic. Now, you always look incredibly fit. I'm told you can bench press more weight than a lot of the players. Do tell, Brenton Sanderson.
Not really. It's a good story though. I won't deny it too much. But one day I did. The boys had their fitness testing at the start of the pre-season, and most of them are quite unfit after their break. And I did wander in when they were doing some of their testing, and not that I was stronger than any of them, but it was. I think they were surprised that I still could lift similar numbers to them. But
how many Ks?
What can I do? About 130 kilos, I think. 130, yeah.
Wow.
But some of the boys they're way above that. Paul Pleasure, Josh Jenkins, Ben Rutten, those sort of boys are up around sort of 140, but 145 kilograms.
And what's your personal daily training ritual?
I wish I could do more, to be honest, but I'm just so exhausted all the time. I used to do a lot more, but
Yep.
I sort of try and keep fit. It's really good for you, obviously, your mind, and if you're healthy and if you seem to make better decisions when you're feeling stress-free and relaxed and refreshed. And I watch what I eat and all those things just to make sure that you're on top of things. But
Yeah.
I just saw too many guys that I played with. I saw too many guys retire and then become unfit, unhealthy, overweight. So I promised myself that I wouldn't be one of those guys. And I think it's good for the players too if they see that their coaches are all fit and strong and looking after himself as well.
So you take the dog for a run along Glenelg Beach?
Yeah, I do actually. I see Cornsey almost every morning. I see Cornsey going up and down the beach as well with Chad's dog and also Graham's dog. But I love that little stretch there from Glenelg up to Brighton. That's where you'll see me most days there with my dog Max, and we just cruise up and down the beach. And yeah, he gets in a bit of trouble every now and again, but yeah.
Fantastic. Now, do you have a lovely lady friend, Brenton?
I do have a lovely lady friend. Yeah, her name's Veronica. So yeah, she's moved to Adelaide as well, which is great.
And what does she do? Does she work?
Well, she was a wedding planner of all things.
Really?
She had to move here obviously to follow me. She was a wedding planner in Melbourne. She used to work in Northcote, just to the north of the city, and she loved that job. So now she's moved here, so she'll be looking for some work and trying to. What she actually did, one thing she always wanted to do, and it might be just who she is, but she always wanted to volunteer in Africa. So she went to Kenya. She's been in Kenya for the last 2 months. She got back about 2 weeks ago. She went and spent 2 months working in an orphanage in Kenya with 60 kids. There was 2 nuns, Veronica, and 60 kids for 2 months. So it was incredible what she did, and something that she's always wanted to do. And this gave her the opportunity. With me getting the job at Adelaide and her having to quit her job, it actually allowed her to sort of pursue passion,
a dream that she had.
So it's a great story.
I haven't seen a picture of her. Does she like to to fly under the radar?
That's a little, yeah, she does. Yeah, that's probably the short answer. But she's only really been here. She came over. She finished work in Melbourne just before Christmas, because I moved over straight away, and then she came over just before Christmas. Then we were in London for Christmas, and then she pretty much came back, was here for about 6 weeks, then went to Kenya. So she's only really been around for not long. But yeah, I think that's a horrible thing to say, but focus for me has got to be the footy, and for her, she's more than happy to just go about her life and do her thing. And so yeah, she won't be one of those people that's on the front page of the paper and all that sort of stuff. I don't think.
Sure, and I really respect that. Do you think you could do your job as well as you do without her support?
That's a good question, because she did ask that, because when she was away, we obviously didn't really lose a game. So she was a bit nervous that the more that she stayed away, the more games we would win. But fortunately,
oh no, poor Veronica.
Her first game back was we beat Carlton at Etihad Stadium, and she was there and obviously thrilled for that. So it was good, yeah. But
well, she's more than welcome to come into the studio anytime.
I don't think she would do that, Belinda, but thanks for the invite anyway.
Now, Brenton is more than happy to answer some of your calls. So if you're a Crows fan, or if you're not, call on 8223 0000. We're looking at the man behind the coach. Brenton, do you like to go to the movies?
Oh, I love it. It's my favourite thing to do. Actually,
yeah.
I wish I could go more, but I don't get enough time. But it's one thing I do know about. I think football is probably number one. And then you asked me about movies, and I think I know movies pretty well. It's the only thing I can really do just to sort of switch off and relax for a couple of hours. So,
what's your favourite movie of all time?
Well, this is a bit sad, but I'm one of those guys that write lists for everything. So everything, I I used to write a list for everything that I have in my life. You know, what my favourites were from 1 down to whatever. And
Right.
one day I listed my top 50 movies of all time, and then it grew to 75, then 100. So somewhere at home I've got this list of my 100 favourite
What's your
best
top?
movies. I sort of like those chicks flicks for guys, you know, those ones like Good Will Hunting and Braveheart, those sort of ones. I do love that really old one. It's a bit quirky, that Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
I love that.
Yeah, it was a classic.
Bueller.
My sister and I watched that probably close to 100 times when we were kids. But
Yeah, as a classic.
yeah, it's an absolute ripper. I like that movie called Crash too, which won an Academy Award 2 or 3 years ago, which is a bit out there. But
Yep.
that's one thing I really love to do. I might even go to the movies tonight.
Fantastic. Now, you sat on the couch last night and watched Being Lara Bingle.
Yeah, I didn't want to. I was sort of forced to. It was either the Socceroos or Lara Bingle. I didn't really enjoy
You
it.
chose
It was
the more highbrow option.
well, happy wife, happy life. That's sort of the motto at home. But
You heard it here first, folks.
yeah. But I did get forced to watch it, and it was okay. I mean, it was a good insight into her, I guess. But I don't think I'll be tuning in next week.
We're going to take a break, and then afterwards, more calls for the Crows coach, Brenton Sanderson.